Hi everyone, I'm back with part 2 of the tutorial for the underwater cake I made. In this tutorial I'll show you how to make the fake water as well as the color changing effect. Check out part 1 of the tutorial to see how to fill, stack, carve and decorate your cake to make it look like this. Once you have this done, you're ready to start working on the fake water. Check the video description for a list of all the ingredients and tools that I'll mention in this video. Firstly, get your cake ready. Place plastic wrap on a bigger and flat cake board or a cake platter. Make sure you leave some plastic wrap hanging around the sides. Place the cake on top. Then wrap 1 or 2 Teflon sheets around the cake and place a tall cake ring around. Tighten the cake ring around the cake. Lift the plastic wrap that's hanging around the cake and tightly press it against the cake ring. Wrap Scotch tape around the base very tightly. You don't want any gaps, air pockets at the bottom or holes in your plastic wrap, as the gelatin will come out at the bottom and that's not what we want. To make the water, soak the gelatin in water for 15 to 20 minutes. In the meantime, mix Sprite with lemon juice and food coloring. I wanted to use Sprite to get some realistic looking underwater bubbles. So how much food coloring should you add? Dip 1/3 of a toothpick in blue gel food coloring to achieve this blue color and look like in my first version of the cake. Note that the more food coloring you add, the less transparent your water will be, so your decorations won't be visible, so be careful how much you add. As you can see, my smaller sharks at the back are not that visible. Dip the tip of a toothpick very little in blue gel food coloring to achieve this greenish color and look like in my second version of the cake. Melt the gelatin in the microwave until it reaches 60 degrees Celsius. Add the sugar over and mix until it's fully dissolved. Slowly pour 1/5 of the melted gelatin over the Sprite mixture and mix to combine. Then add everything over the rest of the melted gelatin and mix thoroughly. Mix the gelatin often until it cools off, otherwise the gelatin on the top will start setting and you will have blobs of gelatin once you mix it and pour it. I had a bit of this happen for the first version of the cake. But note that if you mix it too much and too fast, there will be too many bubbles and fuzziness from the soda. I had this happen when I made the second version of the cake. You really need to find the right balance with mixing. Pour the gelatin water in the cake cavity, but only once it cools off. It needs to feel cold to the touch and around 26 to 27 degrees Celsius, but still liquid and not set. Note that the fuzzy bubbles from the soda will make your water cloudier and less transparent. If you want more transparency, you can try this, replacing the Sprite with water, or opening the can of Sprite 30 minutes before using it so that most of the gas escapes. Place your cake in the fridge and let the gelatin set for at least 4 to 5 hours or overnight. Once the gelatin sets, remove the cake ring. Then slowly remove the Teflon sheet. This won't stick to your cake, but you have to slowly unroll it from one side to the other. I used a knife to release a bit just the top edge, like 1/4 of a centimeter in, not more. I used the knife on the side of the cake as well, and that was a mistake as I ruined the gelatin a bit. You really don't need to do this, as the Teflon sheet will peel off easily. Here is the proof for the second version of the cake that I made, where I removed it easily. The glowing or illuminated effect is made by placing the carved cake on a transparent acrylic board and adding a source of light underneath. You'll have to place the rolled, color-changing and flexible neon strip on a bigger cake board or platter. Carefully lift your cake and place it on the neon strip. remember from part 1 of the tutorial that the cake is placed on a transparent acrylic board so that the light can pass through. The lights are pretty fun to play with to give your cake such different looks and shades. And as you can imagine, the light will be much more visible during nighttime. Here is the look of the first version of the cake during daytime. This is the one in which I use more blue food coloring. I love this shade of blue even if the water is not fully transparent. Here is the look of the second version of the cake during the daytime. In this one I used less blue food coloring. It turned out more greenish than blue. It's more transparent but still not fully transparent due to the fuzzy bubbles from the soda. Use the tips I provided earlier and you get the perfect level of transparency. And lastly, this is the look of the second version of the cake during the nighttime. And finally, cutting the cake. This will definitely not be my last glowing cake or underwater cake. I'm just getting started. I hope you found my experiments and the tips I shared in this tutorial useful. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts or questions. Thanks for watching!